Hello world of YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Redacted, the show where I take a look at records that have a solid foundation, but a spotty execution, and making a smoother listening experience out of an album. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at an artist that I had a lot of negative things to say about on the channel, but I felt like didn't go without merit, because while this artist was incredibly prolific, which is something that could be marveled at, I feel like the more he put out releases, and the more he saturated his discography with records, he continued to have diminishing returns. And yet, when he seemingly was tapping out of the game, I started to miss him. And since he's seemingly already retroactively unretiring, I figured let's talk about Logic. The Maryland rapper who I always preface I liked a lot in college and continue to think his releases were okay, but I definitely had fans that were more into his records than I was. And today, I'm seemingly aiming to take two of his more shallow projects that were intentionally so, and melding them together into one experience to sort of tighten up some of the looseness seen on those projects. They were two records that were seemingly just
PL style club rap.
And I feel like I did that. I made a lean, banger-centric experience for you today. I'm talking about the two Bobby Tarantino tapes by Logic that I'm just pulling together into one Bobby Tarantino experience.
Young boy from the and no matter what they say, it's my day.
Now, like the intro to one of these tapes says, this is just supposed to be bangers on bangers on bangers. You know, it's not supposed to have super deep messaging. It's just supposed to be Logic firing off with some heat. And while I can appreciate that potentially, I feel like across the two projects, there were some instances where it just got really monotonous, really boring, and all of the hype ended up just sort of feeling very atonal across the entire project. Sure, there were some parts where he tried to add some like messaging here and there because it's Logic. He can't refrain from doing that, and I don't blame him. But even in that instance, or even in an instance of some of the features he brought in, it didn't completely come together. But I feel like with my pulling together of these two records, I cut some of the fat, cut some of the tracks that I felt like didn't go anywhere, and made the truest Bobby Tarantino experience. Now, my version of Bobby Tarantino is 15 tracks and 50 minutes, so let's go ahead and break down the track listing and tell you why I kept what I did in fact keep.
Album Logic? Morty, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to decline our request.
Pay the price to be me. Ain't it nice to be me? Ain't it nice to be free? Do this shit like whoa. I think I know. Like whoa. Like whoa. There's levels to the litness. Pull up with that new in the driveway. Know why I can't fall for this. All my life I try. The fuckers talk on the internet, but in person ain't never vocal. Come to the hood and fuck you. Only taught and on the real, no, I can't get much higher. Smoking and ballin' with my homies now. Everybody know me now. Low hundreds in the envelope. Type shit when I write shit, and that old man had to change up. Sleeping outside, no ride in the wintertime. All for this instant classic, like what's up, ho? Where you been? What you know about? Ain't one to flex, but yeah, I'm finna flex. I just parked that new I-8 right next to the Audi. Cop that if you bucking back. Yeah, I've been working, but I ain't got nothing back. Tell me the dilly now. Hold up, wait, really now. It ain't about the money, you know, the notoriety. It's about the people and making the differences. I've been down this road before. Everybody think that they do, but they don't. Swear to God that.
Now, because it's a mixtape, it's supposed to be this whole mixtape vibe, I had to keep an intro in there, because some mixtapes, they got some fun intros into them. And since, you know, Rick and Morty and Logic were kind of teaming up a lot throughout Logic's, at least his first run of his career, I guess, if you want to call from his debut through his retirement record, his first run in his career, they were working a lot together, you know. The artist of Rick and Morty recreated his Incredible True Story cover art. You know, he referenced Rick and Morty on the supermarket track, and why not put the collab they did together on this mixtape? I think it's a fun intro. It kind of showcases an aspect of Logic that is somehow really tied together before leading into a sort of 1-2 punch of bangers with the Jam and Flexicution, which are actually flipped on the original Bobby Tarantino, but the Bobby Tarantino tapes have weird pacing in general. You know, he's trying to make a mixtape that also has this sort of artful pacing to make it feel like a Tarantino project, or a Tarantino film, but I don't think it works, which is also why I stepped in to do this sort of thing. But the Jam is just Logic going in. Sure, it's got this sort of hook in the bridge. It's not super hook centric, yet Flexicution is. It's got a dope hook. It's got a hook that matches Logic's energy, so I just feel like it's a good 1-2 punch before easing into something a little smoother with Boomtrap Protocol, which has this hook of this do or die. It's continuing more hooks centric stuff post Flexicution. It's just a little smoother with that boom bap and trap infusion in the production style, and Logic's auto-tune the hell out before leading into an even smoother vibe of Slave, one of the tracks that has this sort of mantra, that's sort of a follow-up, that has a follow-up, a sort of planting and payoff moment, as I tend to put in my Redacteds. But it's also, I guess, surprisingly a track that was supposed to tie into the Incredible True Story, so this acts as a good bridge between that record and Everyday. I think that was his third record, and it sort of helps bridge that era, those eras together, I guess, thematically with this tape itself. It's a mantra-driven track that has a planting here before leading into a couple of fun collaborations and sort of Logic playing with his own sort of identities, as it were, as a rapper, because he's got Warm It Up after that, which is just him going in, trying to match his Young Sinatra style with his Bobby Tarantino style. So you got some trap and some boom bap once again coming back into the fray with some heat in there before having some good collaborations in the form of Indica Badu with Wiz Khalifa, which is a chill weed jam sort of, again, pairing with Boomtrap Protocol and Slave for having pure vibes. But it's just a weed-centric track. You know, even in the end, Logic just goes, if you didn't know, I smoke weed. Before going into State of Emergency, another collab with 2 Chainz, a track that, again, it's got some fun bars. I think 2 Chainz works really well in this production style. I think he and Logic came together with a really decent cut that has just some fun, banger-centric nature. Again, just laying heavy into that concept of this as a mixtape of bangers. Warm It Up has some lyrical subject matter, as it were, because it's him trying to meld his Young Sinatra with this mixtape style, and I think it comes across pretty well. And then from there, we go to easily my favorite feature on the record with Pusha T on Wrist. I think the beat matches Push's energy and style incredibly well. You guys probably already know, I really like Pusha T. I think he's a great rapper. I think he gets in the cut incredibly well. And Logic, for the most part, does a pretty good job at matching that. I think the hook of this track is a little weak. It's easily one of the weaker tracks on, or one of the weaker hooks on this mixtape, but I couldn't leave it off because I really like Pusha T, and I just like giving Pusha some shine in general. Before fading into the payoff from the planting of Slave with Slave 2, just continuing the mantra from Slave, that same sort of music is his hardest working aspect of his life, but he embraces it, and just being a ride or dyer for the genre of rap. And again, it's just a nice, again, sort of bridge, payoff moment that I feel like, well, again, this record's not trying to get too much into messaging, is sort of cementing why Logic was one of the hardest working, or at least most prolific rappers in the 2010s. And then we just, through the next couple of tracks, have a nice another leg of some great tracks. Logic and Big Sean coming together on Wassup. Again, not necessarily the best hook on the record. It's got that kind of stuttery style that Wrist had, but I feel like it fits Wassup a little better, and I like how the beat on Wassup flips the sample from Mercy, another track that had Big Sean on it, and I feel like, again, he just shines on this beat pretty well, and they come together for a pretty solid collaboration. Before going into Contra, now both these mixtapes had a video game themed song, but Super Mario World, easily one of the weakest tracks on the Bobby Tarantino tapes. I think it's the most boring, I think it's the most cyclical, and I think it's the most obnoxious. So I got it the fuck out of here. But I kept Contra because it's a decent song, all in all. Yeah, it's still got a really long hook, but I feel like he rides the hook a little better. He gets in the cut a little more, and I like the beat on that track a little better. Both tracks were a little spacious, but I think the spaciousness on Contra hits a little harder. Before going into easily the catchiest track on these tapes, Every Day, Logic coming together with Marshmello, who made, again, this sort of fusion of like EDM and trap style, like EDM pop, not like pure EDM, and, you know, Marshmello doing Marshmello, melding with Logic's brand of hip-hop. And I feel like this hook of this song also extends from the Slave tracks. They talk about how Logic just works so hard. It's his day, but he works so very hard on his music. And this is sort of, again, an extension from the mantras of those tracks. I think it was a single from this era, and I felt like it was the biggest song from this era, so I had to kind of keep it here. And again, it's a decent Logic song. I think it's got a nice hook. I think the beat's alright. And I think Logic goes in his own respective way. And I close the project with what should have been the outro on both tapes, but 44 bars is not the outro on Tarantino 1, but we'll kind of set that to the side. 44 bars and 44 more, just to see Logic going in and then going in again, just dropping bars after bars after bars on 2 different beats. Again, sort of embodying the mantra of this record, of this mixtape, of just bangers, that Atlanta titty rap, that Atlanta club rap. Also extending that mantra from Every Day and stuff. Just Logic works so hard, he's going to spit 88 bars for you to close out these mixtapes. And that's what I decided to close it with. It seems like maybe the beefiest part of the tape, but I feel like after coming off of all of these hooks and sort of stuff, it's not bad to just close it with 2 sort of signifiers of Logic just rapping on and on and on and on and on. Now, like I already alluded to, some of the tracks I cut were either because the hook was weak, the beat wasn't as strong, or it was some of the more boring aspects of the tape and felt like it kept the energy a little too stagnant, and I wanted to have this kind of wave to ride, which I hope kind of comes across in the way that I structured it with, you know, the fun intro with the bangers, and then the smoothness, and then the bangers, and then a little more smoothness, you know, giving you a more well-rounded experience as a listener. But let me know what you thought of my Redacted of these mixtapes. If you'd like to listen to it for yourself, YouTube and Spotify links are linked in the description, along with a list of the track listing itself. If you did like it, be sure to let me know what you thought of this Redacted. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general nerdy content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons. If you want to join the ranks to get early access to content, exclusive content, or to help drive the community, it's linked in the description. I'm going to get out of here, though. Thank you again so very much for watching. I have been Viral Rack. You guys are good at these live situations, and I'll see you another day.
You